called Daughter of Smoke and Bone. I believe this is a lot older series. I don't remember exactly when it first came out, but it is a 3-part series. So we got Daughter Smoke and Bone, which is I just showed you the first one. The author is Laini Taylor. I believe I pronounced her name correctly. Second one is Dreams of Gods and Monsters. And then the third one is Days of Blood and Starlight. So as you guys can see, these covers I mentioned in my last video, I'm not a big fan of faces on the covers, but I do think like these ones aren't bad at all. The first one, the cover on it, I think could have been done a little bit better. The main colors of each one, blue, yellow, and red, they kind of draws your eye. And also, as you can see, these two are these two are hardcovers, and then this one is a paperback. So fun facts about how I get my books. So they are all secondhand, usually from a local secondhand bookstore that is located near me. So when I go in looking for books, I don't ever go in looking for a particular book in mind. I kind of just go in, browse around every once in a while, and whatever I come across that piques my interest, I pick it up. So a lot of times, as some of you probably know, those bookstores don't always have the entire series or all in, paperback or hardcover. For me, it doesn't matter. I don't care if it's paperback, hardback, or whatever. As long as I am able to read the entire series, finish the series, that's all I care about. I'm not a big stickler for hardback or paperback. Of course, paperback's always cheaper than the hardcovers, but that's besides the point. So let's get back to why you're here for this series, Daughter of Smoke and Bone. So I really did enjoy the series. I would suggest it out to friends. I really thought the concept of it was really interesting. The characters I thought were interesting, and they had really good development, things like that. So the main character's name is Karou, and the setting is in Prague, at least for the majority of the first book is set in Prague. So her normal life consists of, going to school. She has her own apartment, things like that, with her own friend. She has her sketchbook, which she sketches in, and she uses that sketchbook to kind of sketch out this other life that she has that nobody knows about. So her other life consists of being raised by what most people would consider monsters. They're part animal, part human, and I believe the name of them is chimera, right? That's what a chimera is, part human, part animal. So what she thinks of as her father figure, his name is Brimstone. And then there's 2 other female chimera that also helped raise her. So that's all she knows as a family are these chimera. So throughout the story, we get to see kind of how, what that entails for her, these 2 lives that she lives, because what she does for her family, for Brimstone specifically, is she goes on these excursions, I guess you could say it. And that part of her life has always been in one area, in one spot, like in one building, if that's what you want to call it. So she goes into the home of Brimstone, and where she was raised, and basically he's like, hey, I need you to go here and pick up this for me, or go here and pick that up for me. So she goes through this other door that is within Brimstone's household, and that basically teleports her to wherever country, state, wherever it is that he needs her to go pick these items up. And usually these items involve teeth. So she has to go and pick up, these weird teeth, whether they're from mammoths or snakes or, some long forgotten animal. She's got to go and get these items for Brimstone. And throughout the first book, she's doing these things for him, and she's never been told, why is she picking up these teeth? What are these teeth for? Why does she have to go out and pick up, these random, but very high priced items for Brimstone? So you kind of have that secrecy in the first book, that kind of, keeps you engaged and within her story. And then later on in the story, she meets an angel, and his name is Akiva, I believe is how you pronounce it. It's Akiva, so Akiva is how I'm going to pronounce it. And Akiva, his angel race has known Chimera to be bad. They are the ones that have came and destroyed and killed his people. So you kind of start to get to see their story unfold a little bit in the first series, or in the first book, and then the second book really starts opening up like their relationship and stuff like that. So we learn throughout the series is that basically Chimera and the angels have been in this 1,000-year-long battle. So it's kind of like, if somebody was looking in on it, of course, angels versus monsters. So somebody could say it was good versus evil. But as we continue throughout the series, we learn that neither side is necessarily good or bad. It's war, everybody's fighting, everybody's doing what they're basically being told to do. And we learn that Akiva is actually is part of a whole legion that's underneath his commander, who's actually his father, and is actually the father of thousands of basically everybody that's in this legion that Akiva is in. They're all related. They're all brothers and sisters from this one ruler. So we learn that this ruler basically, takes women, gets them impregnated, and then the children get taken from their mothers at a certain age and get put into his military for the war. So, of course, we get to see Akiva's battle within himself, being raised in that way and things like that. Because what's interesting is the first book is primarily from the point of view of Karoo, and then the second book, towards the end of the first book, really, we kind of it starts transferring back between Akiva's point of view and Karoo's point of view. And then in the first and second book, it starts opening up into more people's points of view, in which I kind of didn't like at first, because I was like, I got invested in Karoo's story and, in her feelings and, what's going on in her life. And then it starts continuously inputting from these other people's point of view. But by the time, I really got to the third series and it started introducing some different characters we hadn't seen before, you really get to see how all their stories, all their points of view, actually why they're important, how it comes together, especially in a war, right? Because you have all these different points of view and how things can be looked at differently from each sides, right? From the good side and the bad side, and how it's really pinpoints like there's not really a good side or a bad side because it's war, right? Like I said earlier, everybody's doing what they're told to be doing, and you really start to see like the angels kind of thinking, oh well, why are we murdering innocent beings when they haven't done anything, right? They're not the ones out killing our other members of the army, right, in this war type of stuff. So we really get to see a lot of like war and what's considered good and bad, and how war tactics, aren't necessarily always in the best interest of either side. But back to Karoo's story. So she meets Akiva, this angel, right? And of course, there's this instant connection and all this stuff, and I won't go too far into that because I don't want to spoil anything for anybody who may want to go out and read the series. But we get to learn about them and kind of how they struggle through being on opposite sides of this war, right? Because we find out, a little bit of a spoiler, we find out that Karoo is not necessarily all human, right? So, and plus her family is Chimera, right? She was raised by Brimstone, raised by these chimeras. So that's her family. So of course she wants to fight for the side of her family, and Akiva has to deal with loving Karoo but yet still being loyal and faithful to his army, to his race, things like that. So we kind of get to see them together and how they go through that and how they deal with that and the difficulties that they face, and to a certain point where they get disconnected because of their differences and her beliefs versus his beliefs and things like that. And we get to a point where we see Karoo and Akiva become disconnected. And this disconnection is caused because Akiva does something very, very drastic and very sad that affects Karoo's life and her family's life. and he does this because for revenge that I won't go into because that's going to be a spoiler for the story, but he basically does something very drastic that affects Karu's life and her family's life, and that what he does, his actions really set Karu off from, wanting to love him, wanting to be with him and stuff like that. So that furthers along the storyline, and just makes more complications that they have to figure out, that they have to deal with, that we see their growth within that process. And I know for me, their growth I thought was good, but I also became very frustrated with Karu's character and her development because she kept getting stuck on not really seeing the bigger picture, which obviously she finally does, towards the end of the series and things like that. But there's a point where I'm just like, okay, why can't she, just see the reality of the situation and see what she's gotten herself into and see that what she is doing is not good for her own people. So I think we really get to see that aspect of war in that sense of kind of like with Akiva, right? Like she wants to do and be loyal to her own race and help her own race out, and she thinks she's doing good and what's going to be better for her people in the future, until she finally realizes hey, what I'm doing is just causing more death, just causing more negativity in the overall versus good in what she thought she was doing initially. So there's a moment there where I do get frustrated with her character, but as with most books, we get to see her grow out of that situation and how she comes back around to realizing, what she should be doing and who she should be working with and things like that. So overall, I really did like the series. I thought it was a good series. I had never read a book by that author before, so I'm definitely interested in looking to see what other books the author has written and, kind of diving into her stuff and seeing if I like any of the other books that she has out. So that's really it for this video. Super short. Hopefully I didn't spoil anything. I didn't want to go too far in depth in this series because there are a lot of things that could be spoilers and I don't want to ruin it for somebody if they want to go out and read it. So that is all I have for the series Daughter of Smoke and Bone. Just to reiterate, good book. I would suggest it if you haven't read it. Definitely go out and see if you can find it and read it. Next video is going to be about a book haul. So I got lots of new books I'm excited to unpackage and reveal with you guys and talk about.